From space, our world is defined by a single color, a fragile, brilliant blue. More than 70% of Earth's surface is covered by ocean, and beneath that blue, life extends far beyond our sight. For the first 200 meters, sunlight still reaches into the sea, and this is the ocean we know. But that bright world is only a thin layer, covering an ocean that becomes darker with every meter. The farther we descend, the less familiar the world becomes, and the more isolated it feels. Below the sunlit world lies the deep ocean, the largest living habitat on Earth. And yet, much of this world remains unseen, difficult to map, and harder still to understand. To enter the deep is to leave behind almost everything that feels familiar. Past 1,000 meters, sunlight is no longer part of this world. Welcome to the Midnight Zone. Here, darkness is permanent, and the water remains cold, typically only a few degrees above freezing. And above every creature here is an enormous column of water, pressing down without pause. At these depths, unprotected structures can fail under forces the surface world rarely has to imagine. There are no trees here, no grass, no seasons in the way we know them. Food is scarce, and much of what reaches these depths arrives as a slow fall from above. And yet, life persists. Down here, evolution has produced forms that look almost impossible. Others have taken the opposite path. Soft bodies, fragile forms, and almost no wasted structure. Sight is often unreliable here. So some predators rely on tiny movements and vibrations in the water. And in this eternal darkness, some animals carry their own light. Some lights attract, some deceive, and some lead prey straight toward danger. And once you follow the light, there may be no way back. Welcome to Stranger Nature. Journey with us into the Midnight Zone. Our descent continues, only 200 meters below the surface. We are leaving the sunlit world behind, entering a layer where only a fraction of that light remains. With every meter, the ocean changes, almost imperceptibly at first. Color disappears with the light. Red vanishes first, while blue penetrates the deepest. By the deeper reaches of the Twilight Zone, the ocean has become a world of dim blue shadows. This is the Bathypelagic, the Twilight Zone. There is no longer enough light for photosynthesis. The water grows colder with depth, and layers of different temperature begin to shape the ocean. For the animals living here, daylight is never truly daylight, only a faint signal from above. Looking up can reveal a predator, or expose you to one. So some animals produce light of their own, matching the glow above them. From below, that can make the animal disappear. But hiding is only one strategy. Every evening, as the surface world loses its light, the Twilight Zone begins to move. Billions of animals begin a nightly journey toward the food-rich waters above. This is diel vertical migration, one of the largest animal migrations on Earth. Every night, an astonishing quantity of life moves through this hidden corridor. Under cover of darkness, many rise into the surface waters to feed. But before dawn, they must begin the journey back down. They retreat into deeper water, where darkness offers protection from visual predators. And every descent carries organic material deeper into the ocean, linking the surface to the deep. These tiny animals are more important to the planet than their size suggests. But not everything down here is willing to spend precious energy on the journey. Some predators simply wait. In these waters, squid are among the great hunters of the open ocean. Their eyes are built for a world where even the faintest movement may matter. And some carry hooks or suckers designed to keep slippery prey from escaping. Even the largest ocean predators carry scars from struggles we rarely witness. But as we approach 1,000 meters, even this world begins to disappear. At 1,000 meters, pressure is roughly 100 times greater than at the surface. Down here, pressure becomes a problem for anything built around trapped gas. And the water below, roughly 200 meters, averages only around 4 degrees Celsius. Now, the last trace of surface light fades away. Welcome to the Midnight Zone. Below 1,000 meters, the ocean becomes permanently aphotic. There is no sunrise here, no sunset, only darkness. To survive here, life must obey a different set of rules. Down here, survival can make an animal look like a monster. Below 1,000 meters, the rules of survival begin to change. At these depths, pressure becomes one of the first problems that evolution must solve. Gas compresses dramatically under pressure, making trapped air a serious liability. So many deep-sea animals evolved without relying on large gas-filled spaces. Some are soft-bodied, flexible, and built to tolerate pressure rather than fight it. Water cannot be compressed the way air can, and bodies made largely of water handle pressure differently. But the adaptations that work down here can fail when pressure changes too quickly. Yet pressure is only part of the problem. The deeper threat is hunger. Without sunlight, there is no local photosynthetic food supply. Much of the energy down here begins far above and falls slowly into the dark. It is called marine snow, a constant fall of organic debris from the upper ocean. Dead plankton, mucus, fecal material, fragments of life, all sinking together. The journey can take days, or even weeks, depending on the size of the particles. By the time that food reaches the deep, much of its energy has already been consumed. The vampire squid does not chase its food. It waits for the food to come to it. When the filament is loaded, it slowly draws the food back toward its mouth. Because food is so scarce, unnecessary movement can cost more energy than it is worth. So many predators here do something very simple. They wait. Sometimes for long periods, conserving every possible calorie. But when the opportunity finally comes, the strike must count. Meet the gulper eel, a fish built around one extraordinary advantage: its mouth. Its enormous jaws can expand wide enough to take surprisingly large prey. Another deep-sea specialist takes this strategy even further. The black swallower can survive on an unusually large meal when opportunities are rare. But taking too much at once can become a fatal gamble. In the abyss, wasting an opportunity can mean wasting a meal. And in darkness this complete, vision alone cannot solve the problem. Instead, many species rely on touch, pressure changes, and vibrations moving through the water. Tiny sensory organs can detect disturbances that our own eyes would never notice. They are listening to the water, waiting for the silence to break. But some predators do not wait for a meal to reveal itself. They make the darkness reveal the meal for them. In the midnight zone, light is not always a beacon of hope. Sometimes it is bait. And in the deep, following the light can be fatal. Down here, light is not decoration. It is communication, camouflage, defense, and a weapon. In a world without sunlight, life has learned to make its own light. Bioluminescence is living light, produced by chemistry inside the organism. Scientists estimate that more than 3/4 of the animals living in the open ocean water column can produce their own light. And that light can do many things: find food, hide an animal, attract a mate, or warn an enemy. But few creatures have turned light into a more effective trap than the deep-sea anglerfish. A predator that does not need to chase its meal. It simply waits. That lure, called an esca, contains the machinery for producing its deceptive glow. In many deep-sea anglerfishes, bioluminescent bacteria live in specialized light organs, a partnership between fish and microbe. In darkness, this complete. A tiny point of light can look like food. Closer, closer, and then... But the anglerfish has another secret, one hidden in the darkness of reproduction. Finding a mate in this endless blackness is extraordinarily difficult. In some species, when a tiny male finds a female, he attaches himself to her body. In certain species, the attachment becomes permanent, and their tissues eventually connect. The male's body becomes highly reduced, leaving the female with a permanently available mate. In a world where finding another animal may be nearly impossible, evolution has taken reproduction to an extreme. But the anglerfish is only one kind of hunter. Meet the Stoplight loosejaw, a dragonfish with a remarkable advantage. Red sunlight cannot penetrate this deep, so many deep-sea animals are poorly sensitive to red. The loosejaw can produce red light of its own, turning an invisible wavelength into a private searchlight. It can illuminate nearby prey without announcing itself in the colors most fish can see. And its extraordinary jaw allows it to strike with very little structural obstruction. A hunt carried out almost without light. But light is not only a weapon for predators. For some creatures, it is a last-second escape. A burst of living light can startle the attacker, while the smaller animal disappears into the darkness. And sometimes, a flash is not meant to scare a predator away. When attacked, it can suddenly ignite a ring of light around its body. Scientists call the display a biological burglar alarm. The idea is startling. Attract something larger that might attack the predator instead. If that happens, the jellyfish may get the chance to escape. In the deep ocean, every flash can mean something different. Communication, camouflage, defense, attraction. But the deeper we go, even these lights begin to disappear. We are approaching another boundary, the vast abyss below 4,000 meters. Below 4,000 meters, we enter the Bioluminescent. The abyss, a world so empty that the seafloor can resemble another planet. Here, pressure is hundreds of times greater than at the surface, and the water remains close to freezing. We have reached one of the most remote environments on Earth. Or so it seems. Because even here, the Earth is still giving off energy. These are hydrothermal vents, underwater worlds powered by the chemistry of the Earth. Around them, life gathers, fed by energy that does not come from the sun. And with that discovery, scientists learned that life could thrive without sunlight at all. Beyond the glow of the vents, the abyss becomes cold and empty again. Yet beneath this darkness, chemistry can still become energy. Chemosynthetic microbes use chemical energy to build organic matter, creating the foundation of an entirely different food web. And from that microscopic foundation rises one of the strangest communities on Earth. Giant Riftia tube worms can grow several feet long, yet they have no mouth and no digestive tract. Instead, they house chemosynthetic bacteria inside their bodies and depend on the energy those microbes provide. Around the vents, crabs and other animals gather in enormous numbers, living close to chemistry that would kill most surface life. A few centimeters can separate life from conditions too extreme to survive. The vents are permanent in their importance, but individual vents can be surprisingly temporary. And far from these vents, another kind of oasis begins with death. When a whale dies and sinks, its body becomes a whale fall. For creatures living in a food-poor world, this sudden arrival is an extraordinary pulse of energy. The smell of the carcass spreads through the water, and scavengers begin to arrive. One of the first large scavengers may be the Greenland sleeper shark, slow, ancient, and perfectly suited to the deep. Then come the hagfish, jawless scavengers adapted to exploit almost every part of the carcass. They penetrate the soft tissue, while other scavengers tear at the surface. Over months, the soft tissue disappears, and the enormous skeleton is revealed. But even after the flesh is gone, the bones still contain energy. That is where Osedax enters the story, the so-called zombie worm. The female sends root-like tissues into the bone, extracting nutrients from its fat. A whale fall can support a succession of communities long after the animal itself is gone. And then, the seafloor itself drops away. We are entering the hadal zone, the deepest trenches in the ocean. Hadal, named for Hades, the underworld. The deepest trenches reach around 11 kilometers, where pressure approaches 1,000 times that at the surface. At Challenger Deep, the pressure reaches roughly 8 tons per square inch. For a long time, scientists imagined such depths as nearly sterile. Then the darkness moved. Hadal snailfish have been recorded deeper than 8,000 meters, among the deepest fish ever observed. Their bodies are adapted to crushing pressure through chemistry and structure that helps keep their proteins working. And where fish eventually reach their limits, invertebrates continue farther. Life has reached astonishing depths. But even here, the deep ocean is not beyond limits. For most of its history, the deep ocean existed far beyond the reach of human activity. That distance is disappearing. Even near the deepest trenches, evidence of our presence has been found. In the Mariana Trench, a plastic bag was recorded on the seafloor. And plastic does not have to remain whole to reach the deep. Tiny plastic particles have been detected throughout the ocean, including in deep-sea environments. But pollution is not the only thing moving downward. A new frontier is being explored here too: deep-sea mining. Across vast abyssal plains lie polymetallic nodules, mineral-rich formations that formed over immense spans of time. They contain metals such as manganese, nickel, and copper, resources increasingly sought by modern industry. To collect them, machines must disturb the seafloor itself. And wherever the collector passes, the habitat is physically changed. The machine also lifts sediment into the water, creating plumes that can spread beyond the mining tract. How far those plumes travel and how ecosystems respond over decades are still active areas of research. That uncertainty leaves us at a difficult crossroads. Because the deep ocean is not separate from the world above it. It stores carbon, moves heat, and helps regulate the climate of our planet. What happens in the deep does not stay in the deep. And yet, the darkness below remains one of the strangest places on Earth. A world of impossible-looking bodies, ancient survival strategies, and life powered by chemistry instead of sunlight. A world that evolved without us and still survives beyond our sight. So the question is no longer whether the abyss can survive. The question is what kind of future we choose to leave there. The creatures below cannot explain what they need from us. But they are still there, carrying out lives that began long before we arrived. And for a moment, there is only silence. Thank you for descending with us. This has been a journey to the Midnight Zone. And if there's one thing this descent has shown us, it is that the unknown is much larger than we imagined. There are still worlds beneath the surface we have barely begun to understand. Stay curious. Keep looking deeper. Until next time, this is Stranger Nature.